It only took 35 years, but we finally got that Blade Runner sequel. Blade Runner is just one of those sci-fi classics that pretty much everyone has seen or at least knows what it is. And it's been such a long time since that movie came out back in '82. You would think there wouldn't be another movie by now, but it finally happened. They finally made another one with Blade Runner 2049. And they even got Denis Villeneuve to direct this one. I am terrible at pronouncing his name, so I will probably not be saying it very much. Denis Villeneuve is a very well-known director, especially the last couple years, due to him putting out hits like Prisoners, Enemy, Sicario, and Arrivals last year with Amy Adams. For the most part, they're all like Academy Award nominated films, so I mean, he's pretty prestigious enough to direct this. So let's see if he can actually pull off making a sequel to Blade Runner after, 35 years? I definitely think this is a very good film, but it does have a few flaws that I want to get into first off, right off the bat, so I don't have to go into them later. For example, I'm sure plenty of people have said this by now, but this movie is just way too long. I mean, I know I was going in with a slow burn kind of feel, which I enjoyed, because the story was interesting, but you could have cut out a good 35 or so minutes of this film, and it wouldn't have really changed much of that. It would have probably just streamlined the movie, and it would have made, a lot more enjoyable. I mean, this movie is 2 hours and 44 minutes long, and although there are a lot of shots in this movie that are gorgeous that I'll get to later in the review, a lot of them kind of just lingered on for a little bit too long for my taste. Because a couple times I'm sitting there looking, this movie looks really nice, but I'm really interested in the story. Can we keep that going along and not linger on these shots? Plus, there's a good amount of dialogue in this movie I feel like could have been completely omitted from several characters, and it wouldn't have really been a big deal if it wasn't in there. Most of the scenes involving Mackenzie Davis's character definitely could have been omitted, and it wouldn't have changed a lot. Also, Ryan Gosling's girlfriend could have had a couple scenes taken out, and I would have been okay with it. Not a lot of them, though, because she is pretty good. I liked her a lot in this movie, but just a couple scenes. I mean, shave off a little bit of that 2 hours and 44 minute runtime. I would have appreciated. There is also a severe lack of Jared Leto in this movie. I mean, I was excited for his character going in just because I watched the short that he was in that they released up until the movie. And he's not really in it that much. I mean, I liked him in the scenes he was in, but he's not in it very much. And that is a big disappointment when this movie is so long. And he's not in it a lot, but oh well. I mean, he's only on the poster, but it's cool. Moving on to my positives now. Like I said before, the story in this is actually pretty interesting. I cannot deny that. Going off of the trailers, though, I wasn't expecting this story, and I actually thought it was pretty great that the trailers didn't give away so much like they usually do in this day and age. So yeah, that was really good. And the performances in this movie were great as well. I mean, by probably like a dozen people in this. Ryan Gosling is K. No, not that K. He gives a really great performance in this movie. He's actually one of the best performances in this movie. And he does a really good job taking over that, front and center Blade Runner role that Harrison Ford had in the last film. His character actually has a pretty interesting backstory in this film. And it slowly kind of unravels as the movie goes on. And that's probably one of my favorite parts of the movie is because there's so much great backstory for his character. And do I really need to say more than it was great that Harrison Ford came back as Deckard? It actually seemed like in this, in my opinion, he actually cared a lot more about becoming Deckard again compared to when he was Han Solo last year. Because he actually puts on a good performance in this and doesn't seem like he's just there to collect the huge paycheck that he gets. So that was nice. Even most of the smaller roles in this film were pretty good too. Robin Wright did a pretty good job with the role that she had. Dave Bautista had a pretty good role in this as well. I'm glad that he's branching out doing other things. What's his face? The guy from Captain Phillips, the I Am the Captain Now, has a scene in this. I mean, he doesn't speak English, but I mean, he did good, I guess. But yeah, I mean, overall, most of the performances in this movie were really good. Going off the thing I said earlier about the visuals in this movie are amazing. I mean, technology's come a long way since 1982, so they can do a whole lot more. And Denis Villeneuve does a really good job showing off of all these different varying color palettes with these set pieces. Because you got the rainy tech-noir cities with all the different neon signs that show all the different cool logos like they did in the first movie. The desert scenes, really cool desert, orange type style scenes. Then they got the snow scenes. And they all vary in such drastically different ways. And they all look really nice, even if they linger a lot. I get it. They look really nice, but the movie's too long. Can we keep this going? But, also another shocker, Hans Zimmer's score in this is beautiful. He always does a great job with scores. I mean, is that really a shocker anymore? He'll probably get at least an award nominated. I mean, the dude has great, cyber tech noir soundtrack with this movie that fits perfectly. But yeah, just had to mention that real quickly as well. But anyway, to give my grade for this film, I'd have to give Blade Runner 2049 a B+. I actually enjoyed this film more than the original Blade Runner, which I guess might be blasphemous, but maybe just because like the first one was so confusing in some parts. I mean, it's so confusing you had to have like 3 different cuts of the film, and this film isn't really that confusing for the most part. I mean, yeah, there are some parts that they could have cut and made this film a lot less long, and, you know, it dragged in parts, but I did really like this film a lot. But anyway, thank you for checking out my review of Blade Runner 2049. Feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Until next time, I will see you guys later.